my encouragement to you would be to look into 24 as a way to clean the closet. Like if something doesn't feel good for you, consider taking the steps to change that. And if it's your job, you don't have to leave it immediately. I actually, in coaching, don't recommend that because it adds more stress to whatever it is you're doing. But get clear on what doesn't resonate, what's not going well, in order to shift to what is going well. Hi, welcome to Intuition, your success compass. I'm Vicki. Thank you for joining me. This is the first episode of the 2024 year, and I am really excited about the energy for this year. I did a previous episode where I had covered like what the energy was going to be like. And the closer we get to it, the more lit up I get. I can feel the excitement about it. And I want to remind you that we all feel this, right? Like we all feel energy that is flowing around. That's your intuition at work. Be mindful of the fact that when you're feeling that energy, until you really tune into and recognize, okay, what's mine, what's someone else, you may read that as anxiousness or a nervousness or something that just draws your attention in what would be considered like a negative way, right? Like, so what you want to do is anytime you're feeling that type of energy, anytime you're feeling that kind of way, ask yourself, is this mine? Is this someone else's? Is this universal? If it's yours, you will feel a connection to it. You will feel like, yep, this one's mine. And don't worry too much about that. Like, just identify, is this mine or is this someone else's? And then go from there. Because the energy could be perceived as be careful or be nervous about something. Because fear and excitement have a very close frequency to each other and oftentimes get misconstrued and read incorrectly. I just had this experience where someone checked with me. They had had a reading with someone else and they checked with me and they're like, does this sound right to you? And I felt into it. I looked at it from where I was and where the energy was at that time. And I said, you know what? I do agree with the original reader, but I don't agree with this context of it because they read it through their fear filter instead of reading it objectively. And when you do an intuitive reading for yourself or for others, you need to do it with space. Like if you do it with emotion, you're going to misread. It's not going to be accurate. And like I see, I watch sometimes these readers on primarily TikTok and stuff for doing the live read. And I'm watching them and I'm watching the energy. I'm like, they are not even tapping into the person who's asking this question. And they are reading it through their own judgment. Like you can see, you can feel the judgment of whatever the person has asked. Is that okay? It's not evolved. It's not a good practice as a reader. And it's a misservant people. So I don't want you to misread excitement or newness, learning, curiosity as being fearful. Now, I want you to tune into your own abilities enough that if you're out and about and you feel that energy, you look around, pay attention, lift your freaking eyes off your phone and pay attention to what's going on around you because you could be in danger. And that could be your spidey senses saying, you need to pay attention here. We've picked up intruder alert, intruder alert. So with the energy of 24, because it is heightened and it is exciting and we haven't felt it in a very long time. That's the other thing. Like for the last decade, we have been in turmoil. We have been in rototiller, dig up the crap from underneath and bring it to the surface. So it makes sense, right? That your autoresponder would be survival. well, our autoresponder is always going to be survival because we are still basically Neanderthals, but we're evolving. We're getting there. So as you feel your way into the new year and into the new energy, because whether this was happening in alignment with a Gregorian calendar or not, we'd still have to be mindful of this tendency to go to fear or negativity. Okay. We want to wire our brains to match what our intuition knows. Our intuition knows everything is okay. Everything is fine. Whatever information we're getting is perfect for the moment. Our brain does not. And that's okay. So what I want to talk about, I'm going to get personal here with some of my own observations of 23, but also like what are some of my intentions or goals for 24? And I want to do a bit of a recap here. And one of the reasons I'm doing it is I would love for you to do this in your own life. So I'm going to model it with my own stuff. And let's think it might be fun to get to know a little bit more behind the scenes of me. And my intention here is to have you get so comfortable with retrospection. I always trip on that word. Introspection and being good with like what you experience, what you would do differently today because you have more knowledge or how life has shifted. The more accepting we get that we've come through something, we can't go back and change it, but we can use it for our benefit. And as I was writing this up, I visited some areas of my life that I have forgotten about. And that can be the benefit too, right? That you get to relive in a, I hope, proud of you way, and in a way that says, I have come through this, I've learned this, and now I take those tools forward, right? Because 2024 is really, and the subsequent years, let me just be clear that it's not just about 2024 encapsulated in 12 months. Okay. This is energy in the way it's moving, thankfully, because you're doing your work. And I really appreciate that. And so does the universe, and so does your soul. Reverse that. Your soul appreciates it. The universe appreciates it. And then we can bring myself, I really appreciate it, because the more of us that contribute, you've heard me say this before, if you listen big bar to this podcast, I say it often, that we are ripple effect in action. We do our own work. We get good with our life, enjoy, and the understanding that life is going to bring times of tumultuous experiences. And then we contribute that. So let's get into this. Okay. So what I did was I took 23 and I did two categories. I did what went well and what I feel like didn't go well. Now, let me just clarify here that even when something didn't go well, meaning I didn't meet my goal, my intention for the year, I still take that as long as I showed up in some capacity, I actually did well. But as a coach, we have to have measurement where we can look at something and say, you know what, it was okay. I want to level it up. Or no, it wasn't okay. I totally phoned it in on that. And I don't like that about myself, and I want to change it, and I want to reach the next level. So we do it without judgment, though. We do it without bringing in critiquing. We can be a critical thinker, but not bring in the critic and blame and all of that. And when excuses show up, give them a little hug and say, I know you feel like you have to justify this or give a reason. You don't. It happened. And as long as we didn't hurt someone else intentionally, there's really nothing we have to do about that right now. We can look at the data and look at the emotional feedback and all that and change it. So what are some of the things that I feel like didn't go as well as they could have in my own life? Well, that was definitely around the practice of presence. In the beginning of the year 23, I chose the word focus. And while I feel like I accomplished that by the end of the year, it was a roller coaster ride of avoidance, restlessness, all of that. So I took on the idea of practice of presence, and that's hard. And I want to give you a high five if that's one of the things that you're working on too, is being present with the people you're with, being present with yourself, the project you're working on, whatever the presence is, the joy of the moment. I'd love for you to be more present there. It is so difficult. And if you have a brain that's gone through a bunch of trauma, or if you have a brain that is uniquely wired with attention diversity, or if you had too much sugar or too much caffeine that day, it will bounce around, and presence can even be more difficult. So this was a mixed bag. Most of these are going to be mixed. It was mixed for me. I decided early in the year that I needed a habit to back up my desire to be present. And what I decided to do was, if there was time in my day when I noticed that something had to be done, I would do it right then. So something as simple as, oh, I need to put away the laundry, and I'm thinking about putting away the laundry, and I have, maybe 10 minutes before my next session starts. Well, that's plenty of time to go put away the laundry, but not enough time to get into anything else. So I would go put away the laundry and be mindful in my practice of putting it away. Maybe my pile's a little neater. I care about stuff like that. So I like things to be in categories, but I don't care if my sweatshirts are a bit wonky. Like, sweatshirts are like perfectly lined up. Listen, I can aspire to that someday. It's not going to change how I feel about myself. But that habit of, if I see it needs to be done and I have that window, I'm going to do it right this minute. And it became interesting to me, and even fascinating, that towards the end of October is when I noticed this. I got so good at it that I thought I was forgetting to do things. But what was different was I didn't have that cloud of judgment hanging over me longer of, you looked at that 5 times. You could have just put it away and you didn't put it away. Because we all have that inner voice, and it's my goal to help people to quiet that inner voice and to change that voice to something that's supported, that comes from the soul level, the sage, the wisdom, whatever your reference is for it. So over the year, what I did was, each time I did this and I recognized, oh, I feel like I'm forgetting something, it took me a little bit to actually tune in and accept the fact, no, Vicki, this is what accountability looks like. This is what showing up as an adult looks like. This is what creating free space for yourself looks like. I read more fiction this year than I have in probably the 5 years before that, because that was another gift I gave myself, was the time to do it. But all of this attention in the moment wasn't easy to begin, like most habits when we create them. But it's become such a practice for me that my space is very neat. I mean, I even organize my bookshelves. For those listening, you won't be able to see this, but I'm moving back and forth. Mike made these for me for Christmas, and they're in sections. Like, I can go to them, kind of like the library. I was doing Vicki's decimal system rather than the Dewey decimal system. But that's one of the gifts that came about, that things are just really organized, and yet my home feels comfortable and lived in and everything. So that habit, the desire to be present, required a habit of me to focus on what I was doing or wanted to do, and then apply the energy. Listen, I'm at about 30%. I can feel 70% more potential within myself. And so that moves to 24. There will be an ongoing desire to be present. And I brought this to conversations because of how I'm wired. When someone talks, I get a movie in my head. And that's what people hire me for, right? Like, I can see the movie and I can see coming previews. And what the potential, it's like when you can choose an ending to a movie, like, I see all of that. But what wasn't kind of me is, in my own personal relationships, I was still in that practice, which meant I wasn't present to what the person was saying. And these are my loved ones and friends and everything. that I wasn't present. I would be in that scanning mode constantly. And I decided well, first of all, that's rude. If somebody doesn't ask you, I wouldn't offer the information unless they asked, but I was still distracted. And to me, that was equivalent to someone looking at their phone all the time while we're having a conversation, or looking over your shoulder because something else might come along that's more interesting than the story that you're telling. If that's the case, pause or connect with someone who is interested in what you're saying. But this gift of presence, that felt I wanted to give to others, hugely returned to myself. So it went well, and there's room for improvement. Along this thing, one of the intentions for 23 was to take time to myself and not use the excuse of all these other things that needed to get done. Because yes, they did need to get done. But I would put such pressure on myself on things like vacuuming, with coming to my house. Very rarely do we have visitors here because it takes a commitment to drive to where I am. And I would love if people just popped by. They're not doing that. And if you're stopping by and judging me on whether I got all the cat hair up, it's not happening. I have 3 cats and a dog. It's not happening. Even immediately after I vacuum, there's still cat hair there. Then it's not necessary for me to put that pressure on myself, and yet I would. And some of this I realized in doing my own work was I grew up in a household that was not clean. It wasn't. And that leads to some of my wanting the place to be clean. But I'm not fastidious because I got both parts of me here. But learning to take time for myself by quieting that mind of just not that important. This time that you're reading this book, that you're meditating, that you're journaling, vitally important to connect with yourself so that you can bring that out into the world too. We are all here to advance and to essentially serve our soul and the learning. So if you never stop, if you never pause, you're not doing that. And I felt like a hypocrite. So the time for myself initially took me saying, it's not that important that you vacuum. It's not more important that you go rake the yard. Oh, I don't like doing that anyway. But you don't have to run to the store this minute. Whatever you need is not an emergency. You can take this time. So it's a permission place that most of you require as well. Now, what didn't go well for me was my social media scrolling and being on my phone too much. And that's in my 24 awarenesses. I set the timer on my phone, but I just overrode it, staying. And that became the space where I said, you do have the time, because what you're doing is you're wasting it scrolling and watching somebody else's life. I freaking love people. Scrolling, it does feel like I'm connecting with that particular person, but I am avoiding my own life or abdicating power in my own life by this habit and the dopamine hit that it needed. So I decided I want the dopamine in a different way. So that's moved into my 24, where the commitment of time to and with myself is vitally important, necessary, and possible. So often I will hear from people, I just don't have the time. And because I know what we do, and I am a human and I do the same thing, I will argue that and say respectfully, I don't agree with you. Unless you are in a situation that unfortunately some humans are, where you're in a war situation or a medic or a trauma surgeon, maybe you don't have the time right now. Everybody can find those 5 minutes to connect with self, because that will build on itself and it will bring you to the habits that will then support your blood pressure, everything. So in taking that time to myself, my journaling caught hold. I was going to say finally, but that's such a judgmental word. Whenever we say finally, to me, it always feels like we're judging what we didn't do before. So I didn't say it, but I'm going to say it for the teaching moment. So my journaling was phenomenal, like 80%, I would say. And in that, I got to know more of me, and I realized what was still bothering me, what was I holding on to. And that led me to speaking up more when in conversation with those that were presuming or assuming about me, or even if they were talking about someone else. I spoke up more in this last year saying, I'm not doing that. I don't gossip. And because there were still some people where I didn't feel comfortable saying that. And I want to be true to myself. I want to be true to my energy. And I want to be respectful to the other people who are in the room. Because if we're going to talk about them, let's call them. Let's get them in the room. And then we can talk to them or with them, but not about them. Unless you're totally bragging about your kiddo or your partner or yourself or a coworker, you're bragging, I'll be there for that. But if we're talking in any other way, so I spoke up quite a bit to the point where I can think of 2 people off the top of my head right now who I'm no longer in contact with. They just didn't like that. And it wasn't, venomous or anything. It was just we need to part ways because this is who I'm going to be. This is how I'm going to be. And I can recognize that's not good for you. I've done this in the past, but admittedly, I would just excuse myself. I would be too busy for something. And now I'm saying to people, this is why. And I'm happy to stay in conversation or connection with you. And I won't be participating in these behaviors. And it's scary because it takes courage to do that. And I am patting myself on the back here. And I hope you do the same. That if you have that, especially when it's family member, that you would be saying this to. And it helped me have some beautiful conversations with people and some boundaries. And those are boundaries. I had a fun one that came, I feel like, as a result of having these other conversations where I honestly felt peaceful whether these people were in my lives or not, because I'm only going to be in resonance with people. And the overall, sometimes there's going to be 10% partnership or kids. You're not going to be in 100% resonance with someone because it's yourself, right? But I went to the dentist to have my teeth cleaned, as we do. And if you're watching this on video, if you're listening on the podcast, you may not know this, but I have a pretty good gap between my front teeth. Always have. Well, since my adult teeth came in. And I was seeing a new dentist in the practice, and I have to have some dental work done. And he was saying that we should do it all at the same time. And he said, and I said to him, "Are you speaking of my space?" And he's like, "Yes, I would not want to get through this process and have you tell me I want to do something about my space. I want to close it up because we've already done the implant and that won't be possible." And I said to him, kindly, but I said to him, "Perhaps you should ask me if I have an issue with my space or would like to close my space before you presume that I have an issue and it's somehow impacting my self-esteem, because I love my space and I would not get rid of it." I said, "But you assumed I want a smile that looks like everybody else's smile, and I don't. I love that we're unique and individual." And he had the good grace to take it in and be like, "Oh." And I said, maybe bring that to your other patients, because maybe they're slight overbite is freaking adorable to them. Maybe we don't all want to be cookie cutters. And he was, you could feel that he was a little confused by the conversation, but I'm used to that. But what this has done in committing to myself to speak up when something doesn't feel right, or where I can offer a different perspective, what it's done is it allowed me to feel more secure in myself to offer that out. And I know the more we feel secure in ourselves and we bring kindness, the better this world is going to be. So it was great. And I had a couple other conversations with other service providers where I was able to say to them, this quality is not okay. I'm paying for it. I would like this. And they may seem like small things, but these are the things that contribute to having a joyful life, to listening to your intuition more. Because previously, I would have known, I would have felt that those were moments, I would have felt the contention in the energy that I ought to speak up here, and I wouldn't have done it for the sake of, being polite. But it's very polite to speak of where you come from, with your beliefs and what you know, if you do it in a kind way. So that went really well in 23, like really well. I'm very proud of that because what it's also done, quieted that critic, and then the conversation that might have happened in the car with myself of, why didn't you just say something? It's your mouth and you get to say whether you like it or not. And then I did joke with him. I'm like, can you spit water and hit a target? Probably not, because you don't have a spade. And I'm sorry for that. Maybe you should adjust your teeth to get a spade. And he laughed. He thought it was very. So this commitment to myself, to know myself, to take time with myself, to hear myself, and sometimes I just want to hear myself, but to hear myself is what has led to being able to be true to me, like to know who I am and not feel, even if others are judging me, I don't need to feel that. That's their, don't need to do it. So some of this translated to business. I had said I was going to go live YouTube every Wednesday. I did do that. I didn't like it. I realized that without some type of format, or at least knowing there's a group showing up, it felt awkward to me. Now, here's the irony. I do this podcast by myself in my office without anyone around me. And I love it. And I feel all of you with me. And I am appreciative of that. But the lives felt forced. And it wasn't me showing up in my joy. So I decided, no, let's put that aside for now. I don't want to feel obligated to something. I want to be in joy and to show up in that frequency so I'm authentic with whomever I'm speaking to. So the lives didn't go well, but they didn't go well because I didn't listen to myself first. I was doing what quote unquote industry standards said I had to do rather than being truthful to myself. Now, this may be completely different in 24 because the year of 23 was me. Like I took the year of 23 to get to know me. So 24 may be where that feels totally cool and it shows up, and I do that because we have the absolute capability, choice to change our mind. It's why we have this beautiful brain. So what went really well as a result of that was I had more time to write, and I have connected with an editor for my first book and then the book I'm currently writing. So check, that's done. Just have to get the content to her. We'll add that to 24. And that's where the journaling came into play as well. I used to poo-poo journaling. To be truthful, I didn't like it. I felt, and I took many writing courses. I took a writing course here that I absolutely love. Katie Schultz, if you are thinking of dipping your foot into writing or expanding your writing or want to know more about writing, wonderful. She does it twice a year, I believe. But you can look up her information and her books and stuff. We'll put a link in the show notes too. But I took that, and that came as a result of the journaling too. So you'll likely hear me talk more about that this year and how it is a wonderful practice and how it can be terrifying to sit down with that journal. Now, there are days, if we went back and read my journal, there are days that are absolute, just a conversation about what the day is going to be. There are some deeply reflective moments, and then there's just passing of time, but it greased the wheels and got things going. And that also allowed me to affirm that I took time for myself. Okay. So this practice of looking at what you intended to do for 23, I don't believe in resolutions because of the word resolute. I don't think we should be hard and firm about any goal. They need to be able to breathe and move and expand and change as we change. So the intentions, you can call them goals, but resolutions, I actually feel like that's part of the reason we break them and don't follow through. It's because they're too hard. And it needs to be something that is flexible, because anything you're setting a goal to, hopefully you grow during that. One of the things that went really well was volunteering. I did it in a couple different capacities, and that filled my soul up. And that's because I created space for me. And see how it all works, kind of like a recycling symbol. Now, here's the fascinating part. I created the time for myself. And yes, I know this is how energy works, but I'm still a proof girl. I work half as much. I made, and here is humor of the universe, almost to the dollar, the same amount in my business that I made the year before. That amazes me. And some of that is because at the beginning of the year, I set my rates for industry standards instead of undervaluing who I am. And yes, that has allowed me to work less because I set my rate to, I'm good. I'm a pretty good coach, and you get the intuition with it. So the value was not set to where people valued it. It was almost kind of a disposable thing. And I know that we work best for ourselves when we make an investment. I've known that all along, but I was underestimating people's willingness to work with me at that level because of my own insecurities and my own fear. So having this validated to me that I had this year of me and I worked, and I still had a pretty full schedule, but it felt because I loved everything I was doing. I cleared out the stuff I didn't like to do. So my encouragement to you would be to look into 24 as a way to clean the closet. Like if something doesn't feel good for you, consider taking the steps to change that. And if it's your job, you don't have to leave it immediately. I actually, in coaching, don't recommend that because it adds more stress to whatever it is you're doing. But get clear on what doesn't resonate, what's not going well, in order to shift to what is going well. So allowing myself to make more time with friends. And that's also on 24 to increase that. And that's already on the calendar because I'm going to be taking a road trip in a few days that to help someone relocate. And I just know it's going to be a blast because of the people that I'm traveling with. It'll be exhausting, but it'll be a blast too. So the biggest thing that I think for the year is I realized I wasn't happy inside, even though externally I had created everything I had ever wanted or thought I wanted in my life. And I still wasn't happy on the inside. So that took taking this time and introspection and getting really clear on what wasn't working well so that I could feel this lit up going into 24. So we can talk about doing the work, but we have to do the work or it's not going to work. So in 24, one of the things that went well but not well was the garden. We had the house we purchased last year has 12 raised bed gardens. And I can be an all or nothing person. So what didn't go well in 24 was plants from seed. I had about a 50% success rate, which might be good. I don't know. I didn't look that up. So what will go well in 24 is still planting a garden and having it be massively productive, so much so I have to give it away. I would be thrilled with that. I will be purchasing plants because that was a lot, especially without a dedicated space that was warm enough for them to germinate, grow, and everything. So that was on both my lists. So 24, have you picked a word for the year? If you've not done this practice, I highly recommend it. there are different ways to look at this. You can set one that is, how do you want to feel in the year? What do you want to experience? What do you want to accomplish? If you haven't done this, please do it for yourself and write it down somewhere, because the first couple weeks you'll be like, what was the word I chose? And it can be a return to point. So last year I chose focus. And even though I feel like some of the year it didn't work as well for me, I do feel like I arrived in that by the end of 23. So this year I'm choosing community, because I want to grow my community here. I want to grow my community on my website. I have the capability to be in an app with you right from my website, so we can go back and forth and have conversation. And it's there, but it hasn't really been built out or utilized to the highest degree the way I want it to be, so that there's no dependency on social media to connect with people. I want to be in that space. Community in my own neighborhood. We moved in last year, and yet the other home hadn't sold. It's under contract, so everybody send good wishes there. So that took up a lot of our time, and then adjusting. So investing in the community here. I've joined a book club that'll start next week. I have joined a coaching program, a certification program that was set for coaches, and then created an accountability group within that coaching program that I have to show up to. I started it. I have to show up to it to create this community that I feel like is the main theme of 24. So I'm like, well, why not just use that? Because it's a feeling for me of wanting that feeling, wanting that connection, but also it's a real thing that can be created. And I can look back at the end of 24 and say, I did that. I created it. Oh, that was different. That changed. So my word is community. What's yours? What word? Let me know. Tag me or email me and let me know, comment on this, and let me know what your word of the year is, because we can support each other in that too. And the community for me is also a focus of physicality, because I miss my gym. Terrible of it. I really miss my gym and the people there. And it's commute. And I knew that when I bought this house, but I knew I had to be here. So it was one of those difficult decisions. And I am intending to find community around me in that context, where I can go and take a class, or someone can tell me where to put my left foot, or probably count as bad as Justin counts. And I know I did 12 reps, but he says I did 10. So I'm very much looking forward to that, because I already have an energy that created from community I've experienced. So I will settle for nothing less. And that energy that's required, part of my community that I've also created is through one of the products you've heard me talk about, Magic Mind, because they are lovely. We communicate back and forth. So it's not only supporting my body and my mind, it's actually supporting my spirit and my soul, because it has aligned with what I believe is important, a source and a product that fills me up because it tastes yummy, and it's a little 2-ounce shot, and with its matcha and its ashwagandha and the B vitamins and the absolute wonderful taste and the nootropics and everything in it. I savor that. When I take my shot, I savor it because it tastes so good. But I love sharing it because it is a full service product, and I've suggested it to my friend. It's what I do now instead of my afternoon coffee. I do the matcha right around noon, somewhere in there, and give myself that gift because it helps me in creating my focus. And their team, like I said, they're just amazing. And it's so exciting for January. They're going to be available in stores in the Sprouts market. So you can look on their website and see if there's the Sprouts near you, where you can actually go pick some up and try it, because maybe you don't want to commit. But have I got news for you too, that in January, this is a special for January, so let's get going on this to help you connect, to help you focus, to help you crush whatever goals that you set up. They are giving a 1 month free when you subscribe to 3 months. Now, I saw a benefit within 4 or 5 days when I started it, but some people, it takes a little bit to get into your system. So how do you get it? How do you get that 1 month free? And if you subscribe to 3 months, that said that right. You go to magicmind.com/Jan Vicki B 20. So magicmind.com, Jan Vicki B 20. And if you add the code VickiB20, when you check out and you put the little code in, if you add the code there, you'll get an extra 20% off, 75% off. It only lasts until the end of January. So chop, chop, or head out to the Sprouts that you see, the stores that are near you. Because this is also a way that we support ourselves. Sometimes we need a little bit of help from supplements, from products like this that are not filled with a bunch of crap, because we don't have enough of the nutrients within us to make our brain work. And I experienced that last year. And one of my commitments to my body and to connecting with community is for 24 is my body, because that, while I totally accept this flesh suit that I agreed to be in this lifetime, I also know its potential, and I'd like to feel its potential. Like, I want to make that a probability and have it be fun. In this last year, I focused on strength building and core, and my back has never been healthier. So I want to take that to the next space. It still doesn't like running. I'm working on that. Listen, got to have something to work on. So in that commitment to myself and my body, it allows me to show up clear for you guys, clear for my community, with vitality and energy and a desire to serve more. And that lights me up. That excites me, because that's like charging my battery. It's like putting me on a little phone charger. So what is it that you will do for your body this year? I need you to choose something for your body, because it can't be an afterthought. It has to be included in the conversation. So what's your commitment to your body this year? You don't have to tell me, but you do have to have a conversation with this and be grateful for and give it what it would like. Maybe you drink more water. That is on my list for this year too. I used to drink a gallon a day. I don't know where I lost that habit. And that's not great, because of amazing skin. And I'd like to keep the amazing skin by hydrating. So maybe you're going to drink more water. Maybe you're going to join me in scrolling less, moving your body more, in whatever lights you up, whatever feels fun to you, just moving your body, wiggle it out. This year, it hasn't come in yet. I've been, when you hit the tracking, I've been doing, I have a wall-sized calendar you'll see in the background here once it comes in. And it's the ability to look at the whole year, because I realized, as visual as I am with this little movie screen, yes, I love my technology and my calendar, but I need something up there that I can look at and go, oh, that's right, I wanted to create that. And you know what's going on there first? My trips with my family, my visits to see people. I have a goal of a bike ride of 50 miles in one day. We've done 31, but I want to do 50. That was last year's goal, and I'm moving it to 24 because schedule and the weather. It was so soggy last year. I'm hoping that we do the opposite thing this year, and not drought, but a little bit drier on the weekend. But that will go, all of those will go on the calendar first, because I learned in this last year that I can have it all. I do have it all, and I want to add the sprinkle, because ice cream's good, but then sprinkle, it's even better. Reducing dairy, that's on there for next year. I know my body doesn't love it, but my mouth does. So what are you doing for yourself for this year. I would love for it to be a desire, right? I want you to get curious about what next year or this year is by the time I am recording this in 23 total transparency. But what will it look like? Will you have more creativity? Will you allow more creativity? Will you be motivated by curiosity, by being calm, focus, action, all of those things that actually do feel good to us once we line up with it, and do it in the way that you enjoy life, like in the way that you learn. Don't make it the way someone else says it has to be done. Like when I'm coaching with someone, it is all about helping them align with their happy. Has nothing to do with me, but because I know my happy, I can be that resonance that pulls the energy up to that. And then I pull that out of people, and they may not even know what their happy was. And then that's so exciting to me for people to realize that and be living that life, because the disappointment, the guilt, the shame, the blame, yes, it's a part of our emotional structure, but they're also saboteurs and keep us from being happy. And I don't think it's absolutely necessary. I know it's not necessary for us to spend a lot of time in there. We dip in? Oh, wow. Dip in? Wow. So what's your word of the year? I want to know. Will you join me in a practice of presence? Will you join me in moving your body? Will you join me in getting in more water? Always loving coffee. I get fluids in. Will you join me in embracing your deserving of being happy, of knowing your soul, of up-leveling your intuition, of allowing yourself to be at the end of 24 and say, man, I rocked that because I listened to me and I learned my value and I learned what happy is. And I danced and I sang and I planted things and I took trips and I painted and I built stuff out of matchstick, or I completed the research I needed to do to follow up on my transition. I took the initiative to take other classes, to get an education in something that I want to do, not what others are telling me I should do. Any of these things. Did you play more with the animals? Did you connect with Mother Nature? Did you embrace the oxygen that you breathe? And did you contribute to cleaning up the oxygen? Connect on carbon footprint. Any questions? Can't wait to meet with you next year. Thank you so much for being with me in 23 and before. Very grateful. I look forward to seeing you in the next episode. Embracing all that is. So reach out, Vicki Baird Coaching, all over the place. Find me. Although I won't be scrolling as much, I will answer your comments. So take care. Thank you for listening to this episode of Intuition, Your Success Compass. I appreciate you being here. If you would like more information about developing your intuitive skills, removing those blocks, and creating the life that feels the most successful to you, then head on over to VickiBaird.com. That's VICKIBAIRD.com. And check out the courses, the groups, and the Spaces app that will allow you to be part of our community and know about upcoming events and specials. Thank you so much, and I'll see you in the next episode.